So I'm here with Taylor Green, a senior RA at Mozart Hall. She's been an RA for 3 years. Tell me a little about yourself.
I'm originally from Illinois, and I transferred here to be in the College of Music. And I'm a senior, and I'll be student teaching next year. I've worked at 3 different dorms.
Okay. Um, how has being an RA changed your college career?
Being an RA has really got me involved with people that I never would have met. It kind of gets you connected to like resources on campus and places that I wouldn't have even known about. Because we need to know those resources to give to other people. So in return, we're learning a lot about the campus.
What resources are you kind of talking about? Is it more like study resources, building a program, or building just community?
Yeah, no, a lot of different stuff. I learned a lot about Chestnut and the counseling center and their suicide prevention stuff because we have protocol in place for that. So I learned a lot about like getting the 8 free sessions and like not having to pay a copay or anything to see a counselor, which is awesome. A lot of alcohol, like substance abuse resources, study resources, like reading comprehension classes, things like that.
Okay. What is one thing you would change in your RA career?
One thing I would change, I started with the Real Community, which was all music girls my first year, and then I decided I wanted to work with upperclassmen, went to college and then decided I wanted a different environment and went to Mozart. What I would change is that I would have stayed at the Real Community at Bruce because it's a very different environment to be with people who have the same major as you and also share that with each other. So it was easier to connect them because they already had something in common.
What's that difference like? Even though you went from Bruce to college and even to Mozart now, what is that? What are those differences like? What was that main thing going from a lower freshman dorm to an upperclassman dorm that really wanted you to go back to a freshman dorm in your thinking?
I think that when you get to working in an upperclassman dorm, a lot of people are already settled and they already kind of know what they like, and it's very rare that you find someone who needs you and needs you to guide them in the direction. And when you work at a freshman hall, essentially you're their first person that they see, that they meet, that connects them. So for me, I enjoyed being that person for them who got them plugged in somewhere on campus that made them happy rather than which is great that people are already plugged in, but for me, being an RA in an upperclassman dorm, you don't have as much to do with that.
Okay. What is your best moment of being an RA?
A couple of years ago, I had an incident. It was actually my first on-call as an RA, and a resident was thinking about hurting themselves, and it escalated pretty quickly, and it turned out that he just needed to go home. And I sat with him up all night, and he made that decision, and he came back, and now he's at UNT doing amazing. So it's just like the little things that seem so small to you, when they're happening, they come back in really big ways. So to see someone successful is awesome.
Is that more of just kind of get to know your residents, or kind of get to know who you're being around, and kind of get to know who they are, as in you deal with conflict, but even that conflict as being a resident assistant, that conflict is more just getting to know what is going on in everybody in their life?
Yeah, I think that the most important thing as an RA is you have to know them well enough to know when something is wrong. So if you see someone every day and they're always smiling and they're so excited to see you, and then one day you see them and they're just not themselves, like it's your job to know them well enough that that's not them, that something's going on, you find out what it is, and then you can help.
The last thing I'll ask, what do you think the best way is to connect with residents?
The best way to connect with residents, I would always say, is one-on-one connections, because people always say, oh, you should program, and that's great, but I feel like you can't program if you don't have relationships with them to invite them. So I would say finding out what their interests are and showing that you care about those things. So if someone says, hey, I'm going to play, cool, or yeah, sure, when is it? I'll be there. So just taking that extra step to get to know them on that level.
I think the last thing I'll ask you is what's the one thing you miss about North Texas the most as you're graduating? And
just as UNT in general?
Yes.
I'm going to miss the fact that there's 40,000 people on this campus, and I feel at home, and I feel like no matter who I see, like if I've never seen them in my life, I feel like they're part of like a bigger family, and I think at a state school that's not something that you come across very often.
That's very true. Well, thank you, Taylor, for the time, and thank you for letting me do this interview.
Thank you.